Kechi Planning Commission Board of Zoning Appeals to its regular meeting at 7:04 on Tuesday, September the 10th, 2024, in the place of Kechi City Hall on 2020 West Kechi Road. We have the roll call now.
Krista? Krista. Mike.
Here.
Eric.
Here.
Oscar.
Yes, ma'am.
It appears that we have a quorum at this time, and we'll move to item number 3, the approval of the agenda. Is there anything to be added, subtracted, multiplied, or divided? Seeing no changes, then
I so move
have what?
that we accept that.
Yeah,
Okay.
approved.
Was there a
We have
second?
no new business on number 5, and now
We need a second.
We need a
We
second.
need a second on the.
okay, second. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. And we have, that's done, okay. Now, keep me on track there, Justin, otherwise I screw up. So we're on to approval of minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes, and are there any changes?
Yeah, on item number 3, I think we just might have a mistypo there. It says Luke approved the motion. I think that was Oscar. Item 3. I don't think Luke was here.
Yeah, Luke wasn't even here, was he?
Have minutes? I've got Oscar and Krista on the handwritten ones. On the approval of the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay. Any
Mark
other
and Oscar.
changes that need to be noted? I'll entertain a motion to approve the.
I so move that we
Thank
approve.
you. Any seconds?
Second.
Second by Krista. So we move on down here to the public forum and communications. This portion is designed for just general comments by the public, not directly related to the public hearings that we'll have in a few minutes. Is there anybody here that would like to address the commission? Seeing none, we'll move on to the public hearing session. I call the agenda item number 7A for the public hearing for case CU 2024-02, a request for conditional use to allow an accessory apartment in the R1 single family residential district. Does any member of the Planning Commission wish to abstain from voting on this item? Good. Down to number 3, has there been any planning commissioners are required to report the general nature of any verbal or written ex parte communications received prior to this meeting? It's not necessary to disclose the names of the parties. Does any member of the commission wish to report ex parte communication? That is a negative. We go down to item 4 here. Public notice validation. The secretary has reported that a notice for this hearing was published in the Ark Valley News on 08/15/2024, which is at least 20 days in advance notice as required. The property owner and surrounding property owners were also notified by letter at least 20 days prior to this hearing. Therefore, I declare that the notification requirements have been satisfied for this public hearing. We'll now hear the zoning administrator's report.
Thank you, sir. All right, CU 2024-02, David Messmore, Strategic Construction Services. The applicant is requesting a conditional use to turn his pool house into an accessory apartment. The current pool house is part of an oversized storage shed or structure, a garage. The property is generally located south of Kechi Road on the west side of Matson Avenue, or 415 South Matson, and is zoned R1 Single Family Residential District. The property is platted as Lot 1, Block A, the Trees on Matson Avenue addition, and developed with a single family residence and detached oversized garage/pool house. Accessory apartment is defined in the Kechi zoning regulations as an accessory residential unit that is constructed within or attached to the primary structure on a parcel or another accessory structure, such as a garage. 5.4 of the zoning regulation states accessory apartment or dwelling, a residential unit that is accessory to a single family residential primary use on the same lot. An accessory apartment is constructed inside or attached to the primary structure or a secondary structure. An accessory dwelling exists independently and is detached from all other structures. The applicant wants to change the pool house to an accessory apartment to allow for a kitchen. The applicant is also planning on having parents live in the accessory apartment. Specific use standards for the Kechi zoning regulations, section 10.37 state, A, shall be limited to one such structure per lot and allowed only in conjunction with detached single-family residential primary structures, shall be compatible with the immediate neighborhood and constructed with the same or equal siding exterior materials of the primary structure, shall be limited in size to 50% of the principal structure's gross floor area, shall be subject to applicable lot coverage, setback, and off-street parking requirements. E, accessory apartments or dwellings may be rented as an independent residential unit and may be served by an independent utility connection, subject to the applicable City of Kechi building codes. 2, shall be maintained under the same ownership as the principal structure and shall not be divided as an individual lot or condominium unit. A deed restriction stating such shall be filed with the Sedgwick County Register of Deeds prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. Guest homes and pool houses shall not be utilized on a permanent basis as sleeping or living quarters. When the applicant first applied to have a pool house as part of his oversized storage shed or structure, he said he had no plans to have a kitchen or allow anyone to live in the building permanently. The primary structure has a total of 2,240 square feet, and the pool house accessory apartment has 648 square feet, which is only 28.92% of the primary residence. Approval of this request would allow the applicant to add a kitchen/oven to the pool house, making it an accessory apartment for family. Case history, CU 2022-03 and 04 were both applied for back in 2022. 03 was allow a pool house as part of a storage shed or structure, a garage. 04, allow storage shed or structure garage over 720 square feet. Both cases were heard by the Planning Commission on October 8th, 2022, and voted to recommend approval with a vote of 3-0. City Council heard both cases on October 27th, 2022, and voted approval of Ordinance 1803-22 for both cases. The property was platted as Lot 1, Block A, Trees on Matson Avenue addition in May 2020. Adjacent zoning, single family to the north, south, and east, and developed that way. To the west is A1 agricultural. South Matson Avenue is paved local road with open ditches. The requested conditional use is in conformance with Kechi's 2040 comprehensive plan. A goal of the plan is to provide quality and context-sensitive aesthetics in development and redevelopment. The proposed design will be required by the specific use standards to have exterior siding of a color and visual appearance similar to the principal structure. This will help ensure that the accessory apartment has context-sensitive aesthetics. Recommendation. Based upon information available prior to public hearings, planning staff recommends that the request be approved with the following conditions. 1, the accessory apartment and storage shed or structure garage shall be maintained under the same ownership as the principal structure and shall not be subdivided as an individual lot or condominium unit. A deed restriction stating such shall be filed with Sedgwick County Register of Deeds prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. 2, accessory apartment must comply with specific use standards of section 10.37 of the City of Kechi zoning regulations. 3, only one family may live in the accessory apartment at a time. 4, if the zoning administrator finds that there is a violation of any of the conditions of the conditional use, the zoning administrator, in addition to enforcing the other remedies set forth in the zoning regulations, may declare that the conditional use is null and void. The recommendation is based on the following findings. The properties to the north, south, and east of the subject property are zoned R1 single-family residential and developed with single-family homes. The property to the west is subject property is zoned A1 agricultural and developed agriculturally. 2, the request for a conditional use is in conformance with Kechi's 2040 comprehensive plan. 3, all utilities and public services are provided to the area. Staff do not anticipate an increase in public utilities or services due to the proposed, accessory apartment. The subject site is currently zoned R1 single family residential, which permits an accessory apartment by conditional use. 5, the property is not vacant. It was developed with single family residents in 2022. Compatibility, number 6. Staff does not see an issue with R1 single family residential district with an accessory apartment being attached or part of the current oversized garage or structure. 7, staff does not anticipate that approval of the request will have significant negative impacts on the surrounding properties. The conditions of approval should minimize the potential detrimental impacts. 8, approval of this application is not anticipated to have significant detrimental impacts to the public health, safety, or welfare. Denial of this application could represent a loss in the use and enjoyment of the applicant's property. 9, no input, positive or negative, has been received from the public at the time of staff report. Here's an aerial map showing the property. The zoning map showing R1 and adjacent green here as agricultural. Location of the 2040 comprehensive plan map. This is the site plan from the 03 and 04 cases, showing the main residence, a driveway, and the detached garage, which the pool house is a part of it. And then site photos, west, east, south, and north. Does the commission have any questions for me?
Where's the pool?
I don't believe the pool has been put in yet.
So it's not a full house. Okay, I'm just asking what
Yeah.
the pool was.
No, I understand.
If
I believe it's coming, is that right?
my wife asked you to ask that,
Okay.
I'm just kidding. Yeah. That's what it was originally intended for. And the plan is still to do it, but we haven't put the pool in yet, no.
No other questions for Dustin? Okay, thank you. I will now ask the applicant to step to the podium and state their name and address for the record, and make any comments they wish to make.
David Messmore, 415 South Jackson. Unless there's any questions. Really, the only reason, the pool house, I think the only definition, we would have actually requested this at the beginning. Once we got into it, there's a clause about a pool house that basically says you can't have an appliance for cooking. So that kind of classified the kitchen piece. And once we got into the kitchen piece, then it was really an apartment. And really the reason this came up too, quite honestly, it's gonna be for either my father-in-law potentially or my dad. Because my mother-in-law's passed and my mom passed about a month and a half ago. So we just want the option to have somebody come there on grade level and live with us, if that's ever a possibility. So that's No, no rentals. We've had this in the past, not doing that.
Any other questions for the applicant?
And just FYI, you can't really see it, there's no change to the appearance of the building. It's a 36 by 60, it matches the house, it was built with the home, so there's no cosmetic alterations on the outside of the building.
You're just making a kitchen.
That's right,
Okay.
yep, that's it.
Okay, thank you.
You good? Okay.
I will now open the public hearing. Do we have any sign-in sheets for people who wish to comment?
I haven't received any.
We have such a large crowd tonight. Thank goodness, yeah. Okay, so there's no other, public input at this time? Okay, I will close the public hearing. Public input, turn the page here, and we can now begin commission deliberations as to approval, disapproval, and/or a discussion of conditions that may or may not be added to the conditional use. Anybody have comments, questions, rules, regulations, anything? Looks pretty straightforward to me, anyway.
Yep.
And we've already approved the conditional use in previous efforts. I don't see any real need to go too much further in our discussions then, since it is pretty well done before. So I will entertain any motion from the commission members.
I approve per zoning administrator's recommendations with conditions, that's my motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve CU 202402 by Eric and seconded by Oscar. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
And somewhere here, I got the last note. Yep. The recommendation and written summary of the public hearing will be considered by the governing body at their September 26th, 2024 meeting to be held at 7 p.m. in this room.
Will they have time?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have that date, right?
Yes.
Next, we move on to a public hearing activity related to TA 2024-01 zoning regulation amendments. And this would be agenda item number 7B. And it's a request for a text amendments to the city of Kechi zoning regulations. Any member of the planning commission wish to abstain from voting on this activity?
No.
Okay, moving down to ex parte communications. You're required to report general nature of any verbal or written ex parte communication received prior to this meeting. Does any member of the commission wish to report an ex parte communication? Okay. No abstentions, and no ex parte communications. The secretary has reported that a notice for this hearing was published in the Ark Valley News on August 15th, 2024, which is at least 20 days advance notice as required. Property owner and surrounding property owners were notified by letter at least 20 days prior to this hearing. Therefore, I declare that the notification requirements have been satisfied for this hearing. We'll now hear from Dustin Belton to present a brief case report and recommendation.
Quick clarification on that, the letters are not sent on text amendments. It is posted in the Ark Valley News though.
Right.
Okay. TA 2024-01, text amendments to the City of Kechi zoning regulations. Self-storage commercial background. There has been a shift in self-storage market where companies are offering storage facilities with units intended for individual ownership instead of the traditional rental model. These units are used more similarly to a private residential garage or accessory structure where owners can store personal property and complete small hobby projects. Under Kechi's existing zoning regulations, hobby metal fabrication or woodworking are prohibited activities on premises of self-storage commercial sites. The recommended update to the regulations would permit these activities for individuals and hobbyists. Commercial metal fabrication or woodworking would still be prohibited. Self-storage commercial recommended action, amend section 10.24.c, page 97 of the zoning regulations by removing "or hobby." This will permit hobby metal fabrication or woodworking in self-storage commercial. Recommended language is provided below. C, striking out "or hobby." That would allow commercial metal fabrication or woodworking to still be forbidden. Multi-tenant strip center background. Under Kechi's existing zoning regulations, multi-tenant strip centers are not permitted in the C1 Arts and Business District. Multi-tenant strip center is defined as shopping centers with street frontage having multiple tenants set side by side with adjoining walls and circulation between units provided along the exterior of the building. These typically include a compatible mix of retail, dining, entertainment, service, and office use. Planning staff have received requests from the community to review this provision of the regulations and the potential to allow these uses in the C1 Arts and Business District. Staff also believes this fits the spirit and intent of the C1 Arts and Business District. Recommended actions. Amend section 5.3, page 38, multi-tenant strip center of the zoning regulations to allow. This would permit multi-tenant strip center in the C1 Arts and Business District. Below here we have a screenshot of the table showing multi-tenant strip center, and it is dashed out, which means use not allowed in zoning district. Putting an A down there would allow by right in the zoning district. Recommendation, based upon information available prior to the public hearings, planning staff recommends that the request be approved.
Any questions for Dustin? I do have one that I'm a little curious about. There on about the self-storage commercial number C. Following activities shall be prohibited on premise: automotive repair, music practice, human habitation, and so forth. My question goes, why is music practice prohibited?
I'm not entirely sure. The only thing that I could think of is that some storage units are close to residential areas and they don't want a garage band hanging out in a storage unit area practicing to be the next Lincoln Park.
I mean, that kind of makes sense for that if it's right in amongst the housing area, like the storage area.
Right down the street.
But this says it's gonna be on a 1 acre area,
It's right next
so
door.
it's
to
gonna
me.
have quite a bit of standoff.
It's not very far, it's just walking distance.
Okay. But that may not be true for
One of them
all
anyway.
these types of things. Somebody builds over there in the new business area where all that industrial stuff's going on. I just, it seemed kind of odd to me that was prohibited.
And I understand what you're saying. I wish I had a better answer for you on that. I can look into it, but the regulations were in place before my time here. That's not a very good answer, but it is an answer that I have,
Yeah.
which is I don't know.
Would an applicant be able to come back for a conditional use for that specific practice?
My first instinct is to say no, just because it says it shall be prohibited.
Yeah.
And shall is a pretty strong word when it comes to the regulations. Yeah.
Alrighty, that was just I'm a music lover, and if one of my children had taken up the drums, I would have really appreciated someplace else to put them. But that makes sense. I understand automotive repair and some of the other activities that are prohibited certainly make a lot of sense. Don't want live animals like lions, tigers, and bears and that kind of thing, so it makes a lot of sense. So, other questions for Dustin?
Do we have a noise regulation?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I believe so.
We do.
Yeah.
After, nothing after what?
Is it 10 or 11?
Ooh, God. You're asking the hard questions there.
10? I'm asking the good ones.
We're all good, here, so we don't get in trouble, right?
Alright.
With noise complaints.
Well, I can hear 81 Speedway when I live at 93rd and Rock Road.
I can hear it sometimes.
Yeah, so I mean, you can't contain some things. And,
It
yeah.
prohibited noise levels here, daytime decibels. I don't even have a decibel meter. That might fall under the police jurisdiction when it comes to that type of thing.
right,
I do know for cars, from my experience, last I checked, was if you could hear music from a car over 50 feet away, that's a violation. I'm not sure how loud decibels are when it comes to this little chart right here.
the only thing that would bug me as a music practice would be if the other people that have the rented units,
Mm-hmm.
and I can say I'm practicing music and I'm putting on a concert. I mean, so, I'm just saying, if I was adjoined to that property, and I was trying to do something and I couldn't hear myself think, it would be annoying, let alone
Right.
live down the street.
Yeah.
So, that's just my opinion.
Good points. All right, thank you, Dustin.
Thank you.
We have no actual applicants in this case. Dustin represented the city position, I think, pretty well. So I'll open the public hearing. Is there anybody in the public who wishes to address our changes to the zoning regulations related to this agenda item? Hearing no public interest in that, that's fine. We'll move on to deliberation by the planning commission. Comments, thoughts?
The only comment that I have, I may have more, but for right now, that's on my mind is, we're talking about the sound, right? So music practice is out, we're thinking that's because of a sound level disruption. Does metal fabrication and woodworking also create a lot of noise too? Like, thinking woodworking and saws and all the equipment that goes along with that too.
But it's saying they're both not prohibited. I mean,
But we're saying that music practice is prohibited, correct?
and we're also saying
But then we're taking out,
commercial metal fabrication.
we're taking out hobby metal. So we're allowing hobbies to stay in. So I could have my hobby shop and create a bunch of noise.
Yeah, I would say that.
Right,
Cause I can have a hobby and a business and call it whatever I want to.
right.
Well, as a woodworker myself, yes, it can be pretty noisy in a workshop, but it's intermittent, it's not, long duration, maybe more sporadic. Probably the worst, is the, use of a planer. Table saws, band saws, they're pretty, quiet in comparison to a planer. But not a lot of people use that. You can go down here to Richard's place and buy pre-made, pre-smoothed out boards. You don't need a planer. You don't need some of the extra joiner and those types of things. So I wouldn't see a hobby use being all that noisy in comparison to a band practicing on a 2 or 3 times a week kind of idea. Where they're, I know some of these storage units are very large. You can set up easily a full-blown band with recording and everything, and it probably would be pretty noisy. And, metal fabrication being approved, again, as a hobby type of activity, would be, I would assume, pretty small scale, not massive amount of welding and cutting and those types of activities.
How is hobby defined? I think that
Good
goes to
question.
Krista's point too.
My point is it can be, the word hobby can be abused. And assuming cannot stop something, the cops aren't gonna go, Rick, it's 10:30 and you're using your table saw. My brother's a carpenter, I've been in new construction for 25 years, a table saw is louder than heck.
It's pretty loud.
And especially if it's in a confined area, if it's in a metal building where a person's paying to rent it, it's really annoying. Let alone, custom building cabinets, that's not just plain noise, that's chop saw, that's saws, that's nail guns, and if they can do it any time of the night, that's annoying, I would assume. So, I think someone would have used the word hobby and say, oh, it's just my hobby, I'm doing it for my sister, I'm doing it for,
Well, then can we put a time limit on the hobby?
I think we can.
I don't see why not. I'm not sure, you think there's a time ordinance?
I think there's a quiet time.
There is.
Well, I noticed
Yeah.
when you brought up the table showing the sound
Right.
requirements, there was a differentiation between daytime and night.
Daytime and night, yeah.
In the C1 area.
Nighttime hours are 10 p.m. of one day through 7 a.m. of the next day.
and who enforces that?
The
I would say
police.
And how do they enforce that?
Yes.
I've dealt with this
Yeah.
out of, in Wichita.
Yeah,
Clients of mine, so it's just, it's a big circle of,
I do know that the current garages that are going in, the owners are staying there and having their own unit as well, and they're keeping tabs on what goes on at those storage units, making sure that there's no commercial businesses going on. I believe they are planning on having a covenant within, when you buy one of these storage units, and they will have their own regulations within them.
So they act somewhat like an HOA
Yeah.
activity.
Yes, yeah,
And a little bit I've read about these new style of storage, work area things
Mhm.
is that the renter or leaseor, can go into that storage unit and pretty much inside do whatever they wanna do in terms of additional insulation, lighting,
Yep.
electrical work, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Everything but plumbing, that's
And
what they can do.
they've got plumbing now.
Do they?
You can put a shower in there, a sink. Some people apparently have plans to go in there and just turn it into a big, man cave and just go watch the game every Sunday in there.
Dustin, do we have any of these right now, currently?
Not in Kechi, no.
Not in Kechi?
No,
Okay.
this will be the first.
So it's like, not that we're gonna have someone that is in their man cave and all of a sudden next door now they're gonna have someone making a lot of noise because we're allowing hobby metal fabrication woodworking. So we're not quite there yet, right?
No,
So no one's impacted by that at this point, and no one has spoken up.
correct. No, this is the first interaction of talking about this at all, besides the owners and you guys.
And I've actually dealt with this on the, sold the 5-acre corner.
Right next to it?
At 61st and Woodlawn.
Okay.
It's for sale again.
Mm-hmm.
This is exactly what they were going to do.
Ah, okay.
The only bad thing, and it got approved, it was not even, didn't have to be approved because it was already classified to be able to do so
Mhm.
under the zoning. The only bad thing about that was KDOT required them to put a retention pond there. So, it didn't give them enough, units to make it worth.
Okay.
So they paid X amount for that property to do exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
Brought all the blueprints, everything, I was the listing agent, and it went through. I don't think the plumbing was approved, or was on the C1 or C2, or whatever it was, I don't think the plumbing was, but it was, leasing it or renting it to people for individual reasons, like hobby stuff,
Okay.
like car collectors and stuff like that.
Right.
But on that corner,
Are we talking about this one over here?
yes,
Okay.
it's about 5 acres.
That's about 2.
No. Kechi Road, right? Go down.
Oh, you're talking this guy
Where's the strip center?
right here.
there. Okay. Then this little. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I sold that to him,
Yep, that's just shy of 5. Okay.
and that's exactly what they were gonna do.
Okay. Okay.
And it didn't have to be approved through the planning because it was already zoned to be able to let that happen, except for the plumbing,
Okay.
because it was not to be lived in.
Right. Yeah, commercial storage, yeah, can't
Mhm.
live in it, yeah.
Is this not what's over there by, the trekking place? So we have one, they're just
Mammoth.
not moved in.
Mammoth, yeah, and that's why we're changing it for them to be able to do that.
It's in the industrial district.
Yeah.
Was it an industrial area?
Mhm.
Oh.
Yeah.
That one is.
That's not what we're doing.
Oh, it's not,
No.
okay.
It is right here. Purple here is I-1, which is industrial. And that piece of property, that 5 acres is C3, heavy commercial.
Any other thoughts? Anything else for Dustin? I'll entertain a motion from somebody. We can move on. Could that be, in C, could that, be, rather than shall be prohibited, change that language to, shall be allowed with a conditional use?
It can be.
I mean, we do a lot of conditional use, actions on the commission all the time, where we pretty much, override what was, already planned for a particular area. Somebody might be able to come in and make a good, presentation about what they're doing, present evidence and so forth and so on. The commission might consider giving granting a conditional use. The only problem I kind of see occurring is that these individual storage slots, if you will, are not individually owned. And so it would have to be an owner-wide kind of, whoever owns that entire storage
They actually are
facility.
individually.
They are individually
Mammoth
owned.
is.
Yeah.
These particular ones out there are. You buy
But
it.
you really couldn't set this up so that an individual, leaseor of a particular unit, could come in and ask for a conditional use. I think that'd be too complicated.
I wouldn't do it, cause you're connected to somebody. There could be 9 of them,
Mm-hmm.
and the guy in the middle wants to be conditional and, play music with his friends. So that would, if it
But
was a
just
single
give it-
family residence thing, I would get it, but this is not the atypical thing. You'd be bothering people, and then if one person gets it, everybody else can get it, and then it's
Well,
a
that's true.
shoot show.
You could soon have a storage unit full of hobbies.
Wars,
Right.
yeah, issues.
Okay. We haven't said anything about, the multi-tenant strips, center background and discussion about that. Any, commission input?
Isn't this kind of what we're talking about?
Well, apparently, in past usage, a multi-tenant strip center was not allowable within a C1 arts and business district. Correct?
Correct.
And we've had some issues come up with that over the last year. And now we're proposing to make that an allowable structure or activity or use of the C1 area. Quite frankly, I don't see how we could ever have gotten around that issue and expect to have any kind of meaningful development in the C1 Arts and Business District. That's just the nature of the beast in today's business world. You see these things all over the place. And to me, it's the commission's job just kind of try to corral that so that it makes sense where they appear, and we take into consideration all the logistics and the infrastructure issues for those kinds of facilities. And so I think having an allowable use designation there for C1 area for a multi-tenant strip center is almost, has to get done. Or we're never gonna really see much development go on, other than single use, single, one at a time kind of activities. That's my 2 cents. Need a motion. And we can put conditions or suggested changes for the governing body to consider.
I still would like to see hobby more defined.
And I would rather have hobby just be gone.
Yeah.
Cause people would just abuse the word, you know, like covenants, well, this isn't my, it's this, or it's not. Keep it out, cause if it's defined, I mean, no commercial metal fabrication or is there woodworking in there? Woodwork, yeah, so, I mean, if we wanna get more elaborate, we can get more elaborate, but I would put the word hobby in there. I'd leave it out, personally, cause it just opens Pandora's box with what your hobby is and what mine is, so. You know, the strip center, I think you should approve them with, you know, conditional, I would say some type of conditional use. You can't live in them. That would be a condition.
But Chris, are you saying, like, Dustin's recommendation was an A, excuse me, for allowed, but you're thinking C for conditional, so I'm.
Oh, I'm
Sorry,
pretty
I'm-
much just got rid of C and I'm going down to the bottom.
Okay.
So let's address C. I think the word hobby needs to be struck.
Okay, I agree with that, yeah.
So now are we on the multi-tenant strip center?
We have
Recommendation.
actually two actions built into one.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's how it's a little
Yeah,
confusing.
that's
Sorry.
a little confusing.
Like,
Can we split, make two motions instead of one?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
That I think would help us
Okay.
move forward. So let's address the issue about the storage.
Okay.
Storage, self-storage, commercial. And as I said, again, we're the recommending commission. And the governing body makes the final decision. They can put in what they want and they can take out what they want. It's just the nature of the beast for our activity. So we can recommend leave it in or leave it out. It's up to the commission to make that recommendation.
I propose a motion for self-storage commercial, part A of this, per the zoning administrator's recommendation.
So we have a motion to approve the zoning administration's recommendation for the commercial storage, self-storage commercial portion of this item.
I'll second.
Oscar seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, they came out 3-0, so it's approved. Now we will turn and make a motion related to the multi-tenant strip center action to amend section 5.3 of multi-tenant strip center of the regulations to allow this in a C1 arts district.
is there a motion to approve it? Is that what you're wanting to know?
Yes, I need a motion to approve or disapprove.
I approve.
Okay, Crystal made a motion to
I'll
approve.
second.
Oscar seconds. All those in favor say aye.
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 We have the changes in the multi-tenant strip center recommendation approved in this public hearing. I turn this over here. The governing body at their 09/26 2024 meeting to be held at 7 p.m. in this room. We'll consider these recommended motions. Any other business? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so moved.
Second.
Moved by Oscar, seconded by Eric.